Thanks, Vanessa, for that. I think what I got from that is just be bold and ask a lot of questions. So really do appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to get started, and I need energy. I need energy. Okay, awesome. It's what keeps me going, so thank you very much for that. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Joanna Lewis. And before Joanna gets, okay, all right, okay. I want to welcome Joanna Lewis, but before she gets on stage, I've had the pleasure of working with Joanna at Interact Corp. And I can tell you she is an incredible business partner. She listens to the client, which is critically important when you're trying to understand what value does one bring to an organization in dealing with the challenges that we have. She has an incredible attention to detail, pursuit of quality, and really is a master in her own domain. And just a wonderful human being. So with that said, Jana, please come and join me. She will be delivering a keynote presentation on the futurist predictions and what it means for cybersecurity, and it is sponsored by PwC. So thank you. Joanna?
Hey, Joanna.
Chris, I can't believe how early this is. Do you have any coffee? So great that my avatar could take over today. I really didn't feel like getting out of bed.
I know exactly how that you feel. All this back to the office stuff that's going on is really bugging me because for the last 2 years, I've been rolling out of bed at 8:58 in the morning and getting to work by 9. Really loving life, and nobody knew any differently. In fact, I've been building this whole alter ego, getting rich on crypto, dipping into NFTs. You really can do anything in this virtual world.
That's awesome. I just built my digital wallet with the proceeds from the sale of land in the Metaverse. I'm actually going on a big virtual trip to Las Vegas with some of my new virtual friends.
Awesome. Tech is moving so fast. The applications are really only limited by your imagination. Oh yeah. Wait, let me go grab you that coffee. I saw some outside.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Don't dance in the real world. I don't not dance in here. Anyway.
Well, that was quick. I didn't think you were going to see that. In any case, I think it's time for us to hop on the stage. I'm excited to talk to this group of cyber professionals who tirelessly protect their organization's data, systems, and operations. I think they'd really benefit to get a perspective of what the future could look like and what it would mean for them now. Let's go.
Let's go. After you.
Hi, everyone. Irene, thank you so much for that introduction. I wasn't expecting that, I'll be honest. And Irene is someone who is not only a smart and sharp CISO, but honestly a total class act and someone I admire a lot. So thank you, Irene, for that. So I'm very excited to be here today and discuss a topic that really gets my imagination flowing. Unfortunately, due to a glitch in the metaverse, my colleague Chris got stuck and cannot be here today, but he offers his apologies. Candidly, futurists are proliferating conferences everywhere and are capturing imagination trying to predict the future. Unlike predictions that we're going to populate the red planet in the next 20 years, it isn't a stretch to imagine a world where we seamlessly interact through work and play in and out of immersive virtual environments and with smart technologies. Visionaries are building and enhancing real technologies towards this aim. Sorry, I almost forgot about the clicker. We're seeing tangible investments in transforming the way we interact with technology and associate proliferation. Here they are. It's not often that I do a speech where I actually am going to learn something from my kids. When I was writing my speech on the weekend, I went down to go grab some water, and I looked over, and what did I see? My son is on his Oculus, immersed in a virtual world, and my daughter Aria was playing Roblox, which is an immersive virtual gaming solution. So they've been, I have to give them credit, they're part of the source for today's discussion. One of the reasons I've always been interested in areas such as financial crimes and cyber is that solving for it relies heavily on understanding human nature. I read a quote recently that was really apropos. It was from Professor Geneviève Bell. She's a leading technologist from Australia, holds a PhD on the focus of human impact on technology. And she said something that I thought was really profound. The things that make us human change very slowly, certainly nowhere near as fast as technology changes. I really think that sums up the opportunity and the challenge. Technology is unlocking huge opportunities very quickly, but human nature causes us to be slow to adopt, and as we prefer to avoid change, we're slow to prepare, and by extension, fail to implement the appropriate safeguards. I really like this animation. It shows the velocity of change and adoption. It took US households 72 years for the telephone to be in, oh, that doesn't seem to be working. Sorry. This would normally have been showing the velocity of adoption of different, oh, here we go. There it is, a bit of a delay. It took 72 years for the telephone to be in 90% of households, but only 8 for the smartphone. This means we're using technology at the same time as trying to understand the related exposures or consequences of that technology. Let me ask you a question. What's the weakest point in an organization from a cyber perspective? Yeah, definitely, the user, the human aspect. What if we lived in a world further decentralized where users multiplied as avatars and persisted virtually? What if threat actors could also multiply and pose as deepfakes, stealing valuable assets and data? The reality may be closer than we think. The future sounds exciting, but none of it will work without trust. Increasingly, we'll be bartering data for value in the new world, and to safely do so, cybersecurity is more important than ever. The investments and the decisions we make now can have a positive impact on the future. PwC recently conducted a CEO survey, and what we heard was 52% of CEOs are extremely worried that cyber risk could impact their ability to innovate through technology or processes. So bad news. It's likely the threat landscape is going to expand with innovation. The good news, if you're working in cyber financial crime, you have a job for life. But seriously, the good news is that many of the issues you're dealing with now can be building blocks for protecting people, data, assets, and society more broadly in the future. There are many individuals and organizations that present themselves as futurists and are predictors of what the future may hold. While some choose to predict 30 years out or more down the road, I think it's more relevant to focus today on those that have the probability of impacting our lives nearer term. I started out with trying to understand, there we go. I started by trying to understand what emerging innovation trends were capturing the interest of Canadians through the popularity of Google searches. So while many of these are very popular, and you can see that the Metaverse and cryptocurrency are probably running a little bit ahead on searches, I needed a baseline. So what's one of the most popular searches on the internet? The Kardashians. And as you can see, the Kardashians are far more popular than any of these topics. Thank goodness, as a country, we're focused on all the right things. But seriously, I ended up typing in AI, and you can see it's a very popular choice, and it's likely representative of how it's already shaping our lives. I then moved on to two organizations that have invested significant resources in trying to shed some light into what the future may hold. MIT and the World Economic Forum. In recent predictions like MIT's 2030 megatrends and the World Economic Forum's technology trends impacting the world in 2025, it's clear. There are common aspects that essentially leverage similar technologies in different combinations, like blockchain, AI, next-gen internet, IoT, 5G, and quantum. Privacy, ethics, and trust all play a key role, with both organizations predicting that privacy considerations will be prime and likely to have major impacts on our interactions with technology in the future. The collection of personal information will make some decision-making easier, but all these tools may shatter privacy in the process. So what are some of these sample predictions? And this is just a small subset. Lots of interesting predictions about, going to, Mars and into space, but I just picked a subset here. So the world, as I was saying, will become more open and less private. MIT predicted climate will continue to change frequently with extreme weather events. MIT also predicted substantial population growth, and we're going to live longer, so good news. And they predict about 1 billion additional people will join the population in the next 5 years. A blurring of physical and virtual spaces, so like the metaverse. The next two, AI-optimized manufacturing and a far-reaching energy transformation, these are really enabled heavily through IoTs and potentially even more transformed through when 5G comes to play. Speaking of next generation of computing, quantum is in its infancy right now. Experts still think there's about 10 to 30 years before it's really going to be a part of our lives. 5G will enhance the global economy. So what's 5G? Right now, Wi-Fi can't scale to meet higher capacity demands. Low latency 5G networks really help to resolve this lack of network reliability and allow for more high-capacity services that keep us safe, like telehealth or telesurgery and ER services. The last one I found to be really interesting. I read a lot as I was looking at many predictions, and a lot circled around responsible technology. These are things like responsible investment, consequence scanning, more targeted tech regulations. We already seen some now, but more very specific tech regulations, and mandatory tech ethics. I'm sure any of you that are as old as I am, when you were growing up in school and you were learning about technology, you weren't necessarily learning a lot about the ethics of technology. But we're going to see a lot more of that coming as we build the next generation. Pairing with the exciting opportunities for technology innovation, the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report recognized just how critical cybersecurity would continue to be in the short term, as you can see in the purple, the medium term, and what they call existential threats, so as long as the next 10 years. And they placed cybersecurity failure among the greatest threats facing humanity within the immediate and next 10 years. Let's break down two concepts into more detail: the metaverse and its associated components, and the proliferation of IoTs, also known as the fourth industrial revolution, and the implications from a cyber perspective. According to Gartner's 2022 predictions, by 2026, 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour a day in the metaverse for work, shopping, education, social, and/or entertainment. If I look at my kids on Roblox and Fortnite, I think we're already there. So what's the metaverse? The metaverse promises a stunningly realistic 3D digital world where you can, for example, purchase and sell goods and services, sign and enforce contracts, buy real estate, recruit and train talent, interact with friends, communities, and customers. So what differentiates the metaverse from today's early virtual environments? I mentioned things like Roblox, and capabilities Control isn't centralized in platform owners, but rather customers and businesses will be able to take their identities, currencies, experiences, and assets anywhere they wish. That's really the differentiation versus some of the capabilities in place today. Also, unlike today's web experiences, much of this digital world will persist even when no one is in it. It's hard to miss the tangible investment into the metaverse. Facebook, now known as Meta, Microsoft, with their recent acquisition of Activision, Nike partnering with Roblox to create Nike Land, and the data app, I like this one, Match, developing dating capabilities in the metaverse. In September, Seoul became the first major city to announce that it was going full meta. What does that mean? It's set to create a fully realized virtual ecosystem for all areas of its municipal administration, including recreating all tourist attractions in the virtual space as early as 2023. The seeds of the metaverse exist today as isolated experiences. In the future, it will be a landscape of virtual spaces with transferable identities, assets enabled by blockchains that are interoperable and interchangeable. A key driver of this interoperability is Web 3.0. Not interchangeable with the metaverse, as some mistakenly do, Web 3.0, or the third evolution of the internet, is a democratized and decentralized internet built on distributed technologies like blockchain and decentralized autonomous organizations, rather than centralized on servers owned by individuals or corporations. Some key features of the metaverse include extended reality, so the merging of the physical and the virtual worlds, immersive experiences where technologies take advantage of human attributes like touch, emotion, humanizing interactions with technology, more cohesive automations, and digital reflections. You may have heard of digital twins. They're virtual replicas of physical objects, products, processes, places, even human societies that can be used in simulations in order to gain a deeper understanding of their environment and life cycle. And cryptocurrencies, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and other blockchain-based digital currencies, assets, and exchanges will likely underpin value exchange across the metaverse. Many jurisdictions, including here in Canada, are implementing digital monetary systems that may become the future of finance. Another key trend that we expect to see in the near future is the further proliferation of IoT devices and the fourth industrial revolution, also known as Industry 4.0. Over the last several years, there have been many applications of digitizing information management processes. You've probably all interacted with robotic process automation, or RPA. However, rapidly, we're seeing the digitization of physical processes in an increasingly cyber-physical world. Take, for example, autonomous vehicles. The Internet of Things, or IoT, refer to physical devices that connect to the internet, taking them from mundane objects and providing them digital intelligence through the exchange of real-time data. The Internet of Things facilitate the convergence of the digital and physical universes, and we see virtual environments such as through VR headsets, smart home products, and autonomous vehicles, as I mentioned earlier. IoT is already growing really quickly, but will potentially play an even more prominent and complex role in the future. Analysis from IDC predicts that there will be 41.6 billion connected IoT devices by 2025. There are already more connected things than people in the world. Smart buildings are already here, and as you can see, from the many IoTs involved, that's what all those little red boxes, like temperature sensors, there are multiple risks already at play, especially if they're hacked from the operational to the more serious physical security of people. Smart cities are rapidly gaining traction and in the future may potentially turn so many aspects that we interact with into data absorbing and sharing entities that we won't even know what's connected and what's not. Industrial IoT is also fueling what's become known as the fourth industrial revolution, Industry 4.0, where major parts of the supply chain leverage IoTs, with sensors being some of the most common. We're already seeing this heavily in utilities with the proliferation of smart meters, and even Google's been using IoT sensors and AI instead of humans for some time to manage things like the cooling of their data centers. A new term, Society 5.0, coined from Japan, doesn't just aim to address industrial challenges like Industry 4.0, but also broader applications like social change. So let's tie this all back to cybersecurity. While the Metaverse and Industry 4.0 revolution and their underlying technology bring to mind exciting and evolutionary use cases, they also bring to mind great concerns when it comes to cyber and privacy. However, the Metaverse evolves. These trends are real right now. Getting started early can help make sure your company won't be left behind. While it's still some time away, according to experts, anywhere from 10 to 30 years from now, the proliferation of quantum computers will pose a threat to all forms of web encryption, including blockchains. Designing for quantum resistance, such as Bitcoin's modular designs, enables its cryptographic elements to be upgraded as needed. If you're anticipating building anything in the next 10 years that's going to have a lifespan of more than the next 10 years, you should be designing with quantum-resistant encryption in mind. NIST's been actively reviewing standards and algorithms in a really interesting competition-style format to help organizations prepare for the inevitable. The metaverse, decentralized, interconnected, will need trusted digital identities for people, for assets, organizations that can be shared across platforms. Companies active in digital identity now, like participating in coalitions, may both help the metaverse's standards and be able to offer a necessary service. Digital identities may also be central to permitted data collection and data governance in a decentralized environment. Privacy considerations will be key as more and more data is shared in these worlds. One possible path is to help empower consumers to decide what aspects of their identity they share, permitting them to be anonymous or pseudonymous. Fraud is a major concern in the metaverse. It brings in new forms of threat actors, whether they're spying on your activities, like the man in the room, fake accounts, or more sophisticated deepfakes, aka impersonations generated through AI. To increase trust in metaverse identities, consider using anomaly detections, blockchain-based credentialization services, and metaverse versions of multi-factor authentication, multi-signature verifications, in which several identities can be confirmed before the transaction closes. Decentralized security. Zero trust is the emerging standard in the decentralized world. The legacy perimeter-focused security strategy is no longer reliable because the perimeter has expanded and dissolved. This will be even more so in the future as there is further blurring of the physical and the virtual. And a trusted corporate network is a thing of the past. A modern workforce has a perimeter that spans multiple user groups, using multiple devices, accessing multiple data centers, and cloud-hosted applications across multiple geographic locations. Because all users are now treated as external to the traditional trusted network, all access requests need to be evaluated for risk. These investments today in shifting to this form of zero trust architecture are likely to form the minimum security architectures for the future. With all the proliferation of endpoints, there will be dire need to ensure stronger endpoint security through various tools like VPNs, proxies, and anti-malware software. With the predicted interoperability of the metaverse, companies should, for example, consider security at the services level, so that no matter where your asset goes, security is maintained. Cryptocurrency has been hit hard over the last couple of years as a target for hackers. Recently, in one of the biggest crypto hacks of all time, a popular blockchain-focused video game, Axie Infinity, was breached, resulting in a loss of $615 million worth of cryptocurrency. The attacker compromised private keys, allowing them to make fake withdrawals and the activity went unnoticed until it was reported by a user trying to withdraw funds. Many cryptocurrency exchanges don't leverage security-first principles and follow best practices for crypto exchanges, like monitoring account settings, two-factor authentication, or hardware wallets when available to store funds in cold storage or offline. Along with the amazing capabilities that IoT devices bring, they also come with high cyber risk due to a combination of vast personal and sensitive data, such as tracking your every move, and the weak security due to the distributed physical nature of these devices. This hasn't gone unnoticed by those wishing to wage cyber warfare. For example, if your VR headset's compromised, the hacker can leverage the motion tracking and possibly create a deep fake. ThreatPost detected more than 1.5 billion IoT attacks, up from 639 million during the previous half year. That's more than twice the volume. Why? IoTs have flooded the market with poor security controls like data encryption and patching. I had a great chat with my son. I was very impressed that he was telling me all about the patches that come on his Oculus. And he did a really smart thing, actually, because I asked him how has he been handling it. He goes, well, at first I was suspicious. So I went to the website to check and see if this was real. So I was really proud of him. I think he's going to be maybe a future cybersecurity professional. According to a recent survey, only a quarter of IoT users even believe it's their responsibility to assure the security of their device. What's the impact of an attack? At minimum, compromise sensitive data from personal devices, but as these devices are tied more and more to critical infrastructure and the industrial supply chain, this could mean wide-ranging impacts on national security. Think IoT sensors in a nuclear plant. In anticipation of the wider and wider application of IoTs, businesses must institute the same and enhance risk assessment capabilities and rigor on these connected devices and related infrastructure as is done on other critical assets, like security planning, effective passwords, identity and access management, vulnerability management, data encryption at rest and in transit, and the ability to push security updates. User education is particularly important, and users of IoT should be educated to leverage VPN, avoid using their personal information where possible. Popular theories don't always play out as we expect. 30 years ago, theorists predicted the demise of the password. Looking at today, we're continuing to amass them at an increasing rate, and we don't see them disappearing anytime soon. However, looking at the near future with a pragmatic lens can help shape current investments and focus. Here are my 5 takeaways. The future, in some sense, is already here. Future trends are built off of more interconnected forms of today's technologies, like blockchain, AI, IoT, and the cloud. The future is built on trust. As the exchange of vastly larger amounts of sensitive data drives many of the key innovative use cases, it's important to ensure the appropriate governance, ethics, privacy considerations, and security is incorporated. Where possible, build for tomorrow. We know CISOs are balancing risk, customer experience, and trust. However, making investments now that just address today's use cases leave organizations quickly exposed to the rapid pace of change. The good news, as mentioned, many of today's recommended architectures, modular designs, and security postures like security first and zero trust offer scalable capabilities. The human factor will always remain, and how humanity adopts, interacts, and leverages new technologies for good and also for bad will need to be considered carefully by cyber professionals. Rethink core competencies. The skill sets that you possess today, whether personally or on your team, may be different in the future in a shared, interoperable, decentralized digital environment. Introducing diverse skill sets and staying close to future developments, whether through innovation councils, coalitions, and hands-on through proof of concepts and forays into the emerging economy, and bringing these back into longer-term strategic decision-making will be key to make informed decisions that prepare you for the next wave of innovation. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do you want to know what my #1 futurist prediction is? We will have a lot more women in cybersecurity. The aspiring cybersecurity professionals we bring into the field today will be shaping the future of our industry in 10 to 15 years. If these predictions hold true, it feels like an exciting place to be. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.